The special meeting of the Board of Selectmen of January 5th, 2017. Before we turn to the agenda, I just want to take a point of personal privilege and make a brief statement, because I've received a few inquiries about town holiday decorations this year. And I think it's important to assure all residents that any changes from past practice were inadvertent and any suggestions of blame are indeed inappropriate. We put Christmas wreaths on the town hall, and the Woodbridge Volunteer Fire Association, as always, decorated the firehouse, hosted a holiday event for children, and donated gifts to children around town. I want to extend special thanks to our volunteer firefighters for all they did last month, especially while dealing with the fire at the JCC and other winter-related emergencies. And thank you for your indulgence in that this evening. Okay, with that, we'll turn to the agenda. The first item is an executive session regarding town security. Some months ago, I was working with the police department, and we asked the state police to come. They have someone who comes and does an assessment for towns about security measures. And Ray Stewart went around with this officer, both when he came to inspect and then when he came to give his report. They do not do a report for us, but Ray made some notes. At our, I think it was one of our more recent meetings, the notes were inadvertently included in the packet. I think you weren't here, Joe.
Yeah.
And we agreed that we would deem it confidential. It's a security matter, and bring it up again. I'm sorry Tony isn't here because he was very interested. But in order for us to review those notes, and Chief Cappiello is here to go over it with us, I would ask for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, Section 1-200, C, which is matters concerning security strategy or the deployment of security personnel or devices affecting public security. And to invite into that session Town Council Jerry Weiner, Tony Genovese, and Betsy Yagla, who have been working on this, and Chief Cappiello. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, we're now at item 3 on the agenda, which is with respect to the Country Club of Woodbridge. It's important for us to take a look at what's going on with the clubhouse and the pool. We're going to have to make some decisions, particularly as our budget season approaches and as the pool season approaches. And I just would like to remind people on this board, I think you all know, we are going to have some issues in the current fiscal year, starting with the reduction in state aid. We've already had a $60,000 reduction in our educational cost sharing grant, ECS, for this current fiscal year. We haven't had, and we've been lucky so far on the weather. That may help us, but you know, you never know what comes up during the year. In our last budget, we had all agreed not to put any funding in the budget for this year for the pool. But there's been a lot of interest in keeping the pool open another year. If we do that, it will mean putting money in this year's budget. In addition, if we do the pool this year, we need money in next year's budget to complete the pool season, and also if we decide we want to continue the pool for more than 1 year. It also inevitably brings us to the discussion of the clubhouse and what we want to do with that. We have an extensive study of the clubhouse that you've all had for some time. This chart is the summary chart from that extensive report that you all have. So I thought it would be useful for us to go over the information that we have, once again, to see if there's additional information. Tony has put a lot of time into this. We had said we'd wait till the final pool numbers were in from last summer, which you have now.
Right.
And I think the best way to do this is to ask Tony to go through the data, and this, the memo was sent. Tony
Yep.
sent us a memo today.
I'd be happy to.
I don't know if you all have.
That's this one.
There's a few Tony.
That's right, good point, right,
Can I
yeah.
get a copy of that, because I just wasn't home?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
You have a-
You know,
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Just an afternoon.
A few of the items, just to bring to your attention. The first is to just update you on the financials from the last meeting. These are the final adjusted financials from the 2016 season. And the revenue's the same, 117. This one here. Yeah. Revenues from the 2016 season are at 117,524. The expenditures for the budget itself is 122,246. And there's some benefit costs of $6,600, which gives you total expenditures of a little under $129,000. So there's a deficit there of $11,300. It's a little lower than last time. We had some adjustments that we made. So that just gives you an idea of the 2016 season as it relates to the pool operation. And there's a number of items in here as it relates to the 2018 requested budget, which you have from the rec department.
Do you want to just show people which one you're looking
Yeah,
at, Tony?
so these are the financials from the previous year, and this is the budget for the pool for the rec department. I think it makes more sense for them to go through this in more detail,
And they will do that
and they will
next
do
week.
that at your meeting next week.
Yeah.
You mean somebody from rec?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great.
But no, you have this, so you can see just some high-level comments about. You'll notice there's an inclusion of using the driving range. So that's something to for you to ask about.
Picking up golf balls and things like
Right,
that.
right, yep.
And they had a few tennis.
And there's
Put
some
up the
revenues.
tent.
Yeah, the tent, and there's
The
some revenues
tent and
associated
taking
with
it
that.
down.
Right.
Yeah,
So you can review that, and then
Right.
you can ask them next week when they come in.
okay, great.
Also are the pool rates that they're recommending here. So those also came in, and those are also I had them put the proposed rates and the existing rates, so you can see the difference between the two. There's a slight increase.
Is that in my pile from before?
It's
Yeah, it was emailed to you from before.
What does it look like on the phone? Okay, I'll find it then. Thank you.
That's this. You have that? Yeah, okay. So you can see where these rates
5%
tie into this budget. Right, exactly.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the information on the pool rates. The last are the expenditures for the clubhouse and the pool. And that's what I really wanted to go over in some detail. There are a number of items. If you look through their pool information, it's tied to use of the clubhouse and the lockers. And so there are a few things with the clubhouse that I wanted to bring to your attention that could impact operations as we go through the year, should you decide to use the pool. And these are items that could fail at any point, and the failure could be somewhat significant.
We looking at your memo?
That's the memo, yeah, right. So the first is always a worry of ours is the furnace, and that's has to be repaired several times, and we're always concerned that a failure of the furnace in the cold weather could be a big problem for us, and that I'd get a call 2 o'clock, in the morning that.
But, I mean, that's now, but it's not during the season, not during.
Yeah, but the issue is that the sprinkler system in the down lower level is a wet sprinkler system. So you could freeze, exactly, that's the issue. And if the sprinkler system freezes, it cracks, the heads crack. I mean, and if it's really cold, it can happen pretty quickly. We have an alarm on it, so we can get there quickly, and our staff could do some repairs to it if it's something minor, which they have had to do in the past. But if it's a major failure, but I'm not sure we'd be able to get in time to. I mean, we have plans in place to try to do that, but that's a risk.
Tony, if the furnace made it until April, let's say,
Then-
or May,
Then you're all set because it's
we
hot
don't,
water.
we don't need the furnace for the summer?
Correct.
Right.
You just wouldn't be able to shower?
No, it's
You
hot
shower
water.
colder.
The hot water is
Oh, it's
propane.
separate, it's separate,
Yeah.
okay, so
So
if
the hot
the
water's heated by
furnace-
propane.
If we got through till the warm weather,
Then you're okay.
we could get through this summer with this
Correct.
furnace.
That's
Okay.
correct. Yep. The second is the there's two types of sprinklers. There's the wet sprinkler system, which is does the locker rooms, the main hallway, and some of the buildings on the lower level, rooms rather, on the lower level. And then there's a dry system, which
does
is,
that mean?
a dry system means that it's not charged with water. So you don't have
How
to
does
heat it.
How does it work?
It's got chemicals.
No, it has a mechanism where if it calls for water, then the water floods the system and it
But only
operates.
if and when
Oh,
that
I see what
happens.
you're saying.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's not filled with water.
got it.
It has to do with the way the water
It's-
is
right,
discharged through the
correct,
system.
correct, right.
It doesn't have anything to do with the water.
No.
But it's called dry.
It's called a dry sprinkler, so you don't have to heat the space.
I understand.
It's not,
was,
it's not,
Right.
I'm glad I asked the question.
Yeah.
But we have, like, for instance, there's one in town hall for the roof area.
Yeah.
And back in maybe 10 years ago, there was a failure, some sort of problem. It's flooded the tax office. I don't know if
I
do you
remember
remember when
that.
that happened?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Right. I do remember that. Okay.
So anyway, that system covers the roof, the second floor, the bag storage, the pro shop, all that area. So we had a test. We've tested as it's required to be tested, and it failed one of our tests. So there's corrosion in it, and so as explained to me, should it be charged with water, some of the corrosion from the system could impact the use of some of the heads in the system. So it's not, so that's considered a failed system. So the repair would be to flood it, to charge it, and to fix the problem. That's about, we were quoted $50,000 to fix that. That's just a quote. We would get pricing on that. So I'm not sure what the final cost will be, but
That's just
So the-
for the dry portion,
right,
just so I
just a
understand.
dry portion,
Sorry,
right?
okay.
So the question that we have in front of us is, can we use the facility if the dry portion
Gonna
isn't
ask
working?
That was my next question, right.
So I checked the insurance, and the insurance does cover us if we have a partial sprinkler. It's the same
Downstairs.
policy, yeah.
Downstairs.
So it's not an issue of insurance coverage, it's an
Okay.
issue of whether we can use it according to our
Issue.
safety issue, according to the fire marshal and others, and whether we would want to use it if we don't fix it.
And the way we use this building for the pool.
It's just the lower level where there is a
where
sprinkler.
the locker rooms are.
Right,
and
Right.
bathrooms.
That's the wet system.
right.
And for people to access.
I'm not sure about the snack shop,
How
though.
about the snack
I'm
shop?
not sure, I think that might be,
I think
You
that
better
might
check
also
that.
be
The-
related, right?
yeah. That's
So-
gonna be part of the review that we have.
The second floor, the fire marshal has already ruled that nobody is permitted on the second floor.
Right,
Where the
right.
dry system is. But he has not told us whether it's permissible to use the lower level now that we know that the dry system
Right.
isn't functioning.
Right,
Then, of course, if it's permissible, we don't know if we'd want to, but at least we need to know.
right.
Okay.
That's essentially the issue.
Okay.
So we have to check on
Good.
that.
We'll
the
check on
snack
the,
area,
yep,
that's-
check on the
great.
snack shop, yeah.
And the main hallway is the, pretty much the way to get to
Right.
the pool
Correct.
from the parking lot.
Right,
That's
right,
correct.
that's right, yeah.
That's all you got, unless you.
Go around.
Go over the golf course or something, like, a crazy person.
Gotta spend money, because, you have to provide some kind of handicap access.
If you don't use the building,
If you don't use the building.
that's right, yeah.
So if you
Which
don't
we're
use
gonna,
the building, we have to create another access.
we'll get in there, we get into
Yeah,
that.
we're
There's-
gonna
there's
get into
more.
that.
And we
Go
don't
ahead.
have bathrooms.
We're getting to that.
We don't have.
The third one is, again, I just tried to identify things that were sort of, hoping that, on Fountain Street, there's a pump station. And the pump station has two pumps, which pump water to a large tank, a reservoir tank in the, on the property, which then sends it to either the sprinkler system on the course or the building. Yes,
Is this one of the pumps that was malfunctioning 4 or 5 years ago?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Not even that long.
yeah. Well, it
I think it was
malfunctioned.
more
No,
recent.
she's right. It was
No,
one
but
of
there
the,
was a one that was malfunctioning.
that caused us to have all that water, the water,
Right.
right. That had to do with the pump and the reservoir tank.
Right.
Both, it was like a
That
double
cost us a lot of
failure.
money, too,
It
if I
did,
recall.
yeah.
The other was
Okay.
like the computer or something that
Yeah,
Just
something
kept
happened
running
more
water.
recently, right?
kept running, right. So, one of the pumps has failed on Fountain Street, so we have only one pump left. So, we would have to either fix one of them, the other one, so we have two. There's two in case one fails. Now we have one. So,
Or if we just rely on the one
and it fails, then we're shut down.
Shut down.
Correct.
Right, that's right.
So that's, there's an issue there. And finally, the reservoir tank itself is a large tank in the ground, which the water that goes to first. And there's some of the supporting structures for the top of the tank have corroded off the tank. So it's missing some of its supports. So that could be a problem. Again, we could either invest in these things if
Two
that's
of
your
the four
desire, if that's your
ribs?
interest.
The ribs
Or not.
supporting the tank?
Yeah, there's
roof?
4 of them.
Okay.
2 of them have broken off, or separated
Oh,
from the roof, and 2
okay.
of them are still there.
Where's the tank?
It's a big tank on the in the course. Not sure exactly where it's located, but if you walk by it, you can see half of it sticking out of the ground.
And the part that's.
So there's supporting structures inside.
This part sticking up, or?
Yeah, it's the part sticking up that supports at the top of the tank.
So do we know what's happening underneath? Have we
Don't
done
ask.
any check?
Yeah, we keep an eye on it because there's these sensors that regulate the level of the water.
Uh-huh.
So that's what happened.
So we know it's not leaking.
Pumps water into it, right? And we check it to make sure it's not leaking. Because what happened previously was one of the sensors, it stops the water from. In other words, what happens is it fills the tank until it reaches the sensor on the top of the tank, then it shuts off the pumps. Then, as it drops, it hits the sensor on the bottom, and that fills the tank up again. Well, one of the sensors stopped, it broke, it wasn't working, and kept running. So, this was 4 or 5 years ago.
At least.
Yeah. So it's a very intricate system that's set up for that. So that's a fourth issue. I just wanted to bring those to your attention, that these may need some attention. Particularly the sprinkler issue was the major issue there.
Thank you.
On the pool, which is the next page, so the way we backwash the pool water, we have to change that process and change it to currently the way it's backwashed is no longer within DEP guidelines. So we have to change this filtration method there in order to be able to properly
So
do
this
that.
is a 23,000 cap investment.
Has to be
before we
done.
can open up.
Correct. That has to be done before you open. That's really the only one that has to be done before you open.
We're under some order. I mean, how did this develop?
Because when we did the environmental survey, you remember there was a chlorine, an issue with one of the wells next door. Well, that's how it was happening. It was being backwashed into the ground, yeah. So that has to stop that process.
Aha.
And we have to fix that. So there's a number of ways to do it. And this is one of the, speaking with Anthony and with Brad and some of the others that use the pool on a regular basis, this is one conclusion that they've come to. So that's really the only one that has to be done, before you start. Just another reminder that the Rec Commission requested money for resurfacing the pool, and that would be for at the conclusion of this season, should you decide to continue the pool.
And that's
So-
approximately, for people who aren't sitting here, it's
Right,
approximately
it's about
$60,000.
$60,000. So
We can
you
open
would
this
have to
year
put that in the
without
you could, but you'd have to put that in the budget
it.
if you
No,
wanted to do it,
no, we could do it.
because you're doing it next fall.
Right.
So it would be in the budget
For
that you're working on.
FY18.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So it's really an expense that you have to decide pretty soon if you're going to put it in the budget, because the budgets are due before the pool season will even start. Pretty much.
Does it have to be done, or are they requesting?
Well, you can ask them when they come
Okay,
next
yeah,
week,
all
but
right.
it's
Okay.
what I understand is it's something that really needs to be done.
Okay.
But you can certainly ask them that
Yep,
question.
okay,
That's their, you have 3 capital budget requests here that were submitted, and these are the 3. I just put them on the memo there, so
Right,
they're easily. Yeah. And lastly is the pool heater, which Anthony has put in his capital budget for fiscal year 2020. So
Pool
those
heater
are,
operates independently.
it
of the
heats,
furnace.
yeah, it's propane and it heats the pool water.
So, if any of you don't know this, there's also a small pool house next to the pool, which I don't think has been used for
Right.
quite a long time.
I'm not aware of what
And
that was.
because of the issues with the clubhouse, we thought it was important to look at the pool house. If we're not going to continue the use of the clubhouse this summer, what would be involved with the pool house if it's for 1 year, or if we're going to make a longer-term commitment to the pool? How do we want to look at that? So Tony did some work on, and
Betsy actually
Betsy, yeah.
did a lot of work. You could,
Sure, so I walked through the building with Brad Parsons and Terry Gilbertson to look at whether the building's ADA compliant and what would need to be done to make it usable. So there's a few things that need to be done. We would need to change the entryway to make it easier for a person in a wheelchair to get in the building and turn around. We need to remove a shower from there. Currently, there's a shower stall in the men's room and the women's room. Those would need to be removed in order to make space for a handicap accessible restroom or a toilet within the stall. The 2 toilets that are there currently would need to be removed, and there would need to be a new sink installed.
So there wouldn't be any shower,
Correct.
Oh.
And the shower is currently broken right now anyways.
but there wouldn't be under this, I didn't realize, under this
There's
plan,
no
there'd be
shower.
no
Right,
shower.
there's no
Correct.
shower. There
Okay.
is an exterior shower, like they have at the beach,
Uh-huh. Right.
but there would not be an inside
Mhm.
private shower. In addition to work being done on the building, as both of you were saying earlier, you would need to make it accessible to actually get to the pool, because right now the way people get to the pool is they walk through the building. So if the building were closed down, we would be able to make a short sidewalk that would go around the left side of the building from where the top of the asphalt ends, where it abuts the building. That is expected to cost approximately $10,000. So the 2 together would be about $30,000.
one other thing I want to bring to your attention. Should we not use the clubhouse at all, we have to change our insurance coverage on it to a vacant property policy, because we would not be using the clubhouse. And so that's a cost of about $18,000 a year.
More?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's counterintuitive.
Simply because you,
I understand.
if you're not using it, there's a
I
greater
get it.
chance for theft and
I
stuff.
understand.
Vandalism,
Vacant.
right? Right, because it's vacant. We would have some savings in electricity and fuel oil should you not heat it and stuff, which would offset that. But I just wanted to mention that.
I have
Yeah.
a question for Betsy. Does the bathhouse, is it plumbed to a water system on Fountain Street, or is there a septic for that?
I believe it is hooked up to public water.
As the rest of it is?
Yes.
I didn't know if it operated independently, so.
So you also have the summary sheet from the lengthy report, which has 8 options for the building. But I thought the 2 that we might want to keep in mind as we consider these factors is the first, which is to mothball the building. And the estimated cost for that is a little over $300,000 plus 20% for soft costs.
Right. Mhm.
So close to $400,000.
20% for what?
Soft costs.
Soft
Oh,
costs. And then it's column, unfortunately, these are not, option 4, which is the 5th column when you get to the summary page, is complete demolition of the building. That's $516,000, so a little over 620,000.
And just to note the footnotes at the bottom,
Yeah,
hazmat testing and remediation is excluded. So should there be any hazardous materials, that would be in addition to that.
The addition.
so I think as we think about this and think about continuation of the pool, whether it's for 1 season or more, it's important to consider what costs would be involved. How much do we want to invest if it's for 1 summer? If we're going to do 1 summer, do we really want to make a commitment for a longer term? And one a price we don't have here is if this is going to be a long-term commitment to the pool and we don't think the clubhouse is viable, which I think is increasingly clear, at least it is to me. Would we want to really have a refurbished pool house or take down this pool house and build another one? If we really think a town pool is something we want for the long term, you know, how much investment and commitment do we want to make to that? Because remember, right now, we have nothing in the budget for the pool for this year, and we'll be talking about it for next year. And as we develop our budget, we're going to have to make these decisions and do something worthwhile. So those are the issues that have arisen as we've tried to pull this information together. And if you have any questions or other information you
Sure,
think,
or if you think of something
anything
and
that
you
would help
want
make the
more
decision.
information, you just let us know and we'd be happy to get it for you.
Just make, I just want to make it clear, the pool house is that edifice that's right across the street, across from the kids' pool? Is
That's
that the
it,
one?
that's the one, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's hardly called a house, but
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
it's scary.
Yeah.
well, right.
It's a scary place.
So, and we're
I
hearing
don't
for.
think they use it now. I mean,
No,
they
it hasn't
have
been
No,
used
it's-
in a long
it's-
time.
Yeah.
Not, I don't think it's.
It needs a little
it's
cleaning up.
hideous.
More, that's better now.
So the lease, it's probably less expensive to continue to use the clubhouse for a year if we can, and if we're lucky on all the things that, you know, the furnace makes
the
it and all that, assuming
the
that.
sprinkler issue,
And if the
yeah.
sprinkler issue is satisfactorily resolved, it's less expensive than making the pool house usable.
I agree with you. I think that we should at least consider to pursue that option, because I think it's a good idea to try to keep the pool open with using the clubhouse for maybe just this season.
For 1 year.
Yeah, if we could. I think a lot of people that I've heard from really would like to do
Yeah,
it.
I feel that that's.
It's you're right, it's getting increasingly more expensive, but
I'm not saying this to throw a flamethrower in the middle of this. I just need it for
Warm us up.
context in my own head here. Don't everybody get hysterical. Just remind me, I've lost track of all this, under the Toll Brothers proposal, what were they gonna do with the clubhouse and the pool?
Nothing, they were not touching that part of the property.
Okay, so that was still gonna be our responsibility, okay.
An earlier proposal, I think,
Well-
included that, but they were going to, that's when they had a much
A
bigger
bigger issue, okay.
issue. I
On
don't
the
It is-
original one, there was
Yeah.
No, I was
there was
only,
an option to
yeah,
induce
I just
money
wanted to
when
know what
they
the latest one
demolished
was,
the
just for context,
No,
because I
this
wanna
one
make
does not
sure.
include the pool or the
Yeah.
latest one.
clubhouse.
Okay,
the first
okay.
one.
I also
One
think
of
going
the
forward in our,
cluster.
I'm sorry, in our budget, I think we could take some of these items out that will save on the golf items, which may make it a little bit more tolerable. There's a lot of, in the proposed budget that you gave us, there was a
Mhm.
bunch of stuff that we could take out, related like driving range and
Oh, I see.
all that stuff,
Right.
so that number is not,
Oh, from the Recreation Commission budget?
yeah, exactly, we'll talk about that next week, I know,
Yes.
but that might help a little bit.
Maybe, although I
Maybe.
think they'll also project
There's
reduced
revenues,
revenues
right.
that they had
I know.
associated
There's also
with that.
revenues in
Well,
there, but-
This is not, it's not
I know.
simple. I mean,
I just
there's
think
a
it's
lot of
such
factors here.
it's such an asset, and it would be a shame, but
Well, if it's
we have some more work to do.
if the board thinks we should make a long-term commitment to have a town pool, certainly it's a good amenity for the town, but we
Mhm.
have to be realistic about what it means. And we don't want to spend, or at least watch how much we want to spend if we're only making a 1-year commitment is very different from a long-term commitment.
Completely agree.
Um,
Yep.
Yeah. No, we
A
have to look at it.
long-term commitment is gonna require significant funds.
Yep.
Right.
So it seems to me, before we decide we could make a long-term commitment to the pool, we have to decide what our long-term commitment is for that piece of property. Because why would we say we're gonna long-term
No, that's
commit to
exactly
the
right.
pool and
Mhm.
spend all this
Sure.
money and then
Sell the
we
whole
decide
thing.
we're gonna, so
Right.
if we're gonna keep it as open space and recreation and walking trails and dog, whatever,
Absolutely.
then maybe talking about a town pool is something we could talk about.
Mhm.
But
Right.
I don't know how we talk about that if we don't have a handle on
Well,
long-term use of that property.
right, I guess for now, where we are is long-term use is open space, we have no other options, but we have not excluded it, and I don't know that having a
No.
pool would exclude it.
Talking about it,
But-
but we haven't said that's it, we haven't decided.
Yeah.
It's-
Maybe we should be deciding.
I- So, well.
I'm just
we're
throwing that
open
out
for
there because
discussion,
I don't know
yeah.
how we make a long-term pool decision
Mm.
without really a long-term.
Well, it seems to me
Global
at this
aspect.
point, our
1 year
Whether
is a
it's by-
different story.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So whether
Totally.
it's by default
Yep.
or by actual action, where we are is that this is a town park. Now, that's not to say that a proposal for some kind of development or some change couldn't come along that the town would want to see, but at this time, I think that's where we are. Which actually brings me to, I actually had forgotten about this, but I was at Coop the other day to answer some questions, and they were very interested in the toll proposal and asking about it. And I said, well, the holdup at the Board of Selectmen, correct me if I'm wrong, not for you, Marie, I know you're against any development, I know that. But I think for you, Joe, and for Tony, had the concerns about the precedential impact of changing zoning.
That was a major concern.
Yeah, so one question is that they asked me, and I couldn't answer, certainly, is there anything that would be satisfactory to you on the zoning issue? Are there particular lawyers or questions? I think that's something, if you want to think about the long term, if it's like, we don't want to do anything that changes zoning, that's a big
That's a bigger
decision that, like, we would never entertain, or at least this board wouldn't. But if there's some other information you would want, we should look into that, I think.
My idea about the development is it because any kind of development there means a zoning change.
Well, no,
That's
that's
not
not
the
true.
point.
That's not true.
Not any
Right.
kind of development. You can develop it within the zoning regs.
With an acre and a half houses.
I didn't know that. I thought.
Well, of course, I mean, you can always develop that piece of property within the existing
Of course.
zoning regs. Now, does someone want to do that? Is there enough profit there for them? That's a different story.
Well, does the town want to do that? That has the impact on schools and.
Well,
other
right,
things.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of different, but there is development that could be had.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
reason why, one of the reasons the town purchased it, to prevent that uncontrolled kind of development, which would lead to an overcrowding of schools and services.
Right, that's a negative, the revenue impact over time for the town is a negative, that, as we looked at it. But I think if you could give that some thought, Joe, if there is something, additional information, that might help, if people are gonna talk about the
I have no problem
long
giving it a
term.
thought, but I don't know what my thoughts have to do with it. I mean, this is a board here, and
It's
we
a
could,
point. It's
we
a
can make
concern
a
for
vote whether I
everybody.
think
No,
of this or
it's a
not.
concern
I
for
mean,
everyone.
No, because
But
I
you
think,
brought it up.
no, only because you were not satisfied on the zoning issue.
No,
Is it
and I'm not
satisfiable?
running from that,
Is
I'm
it-
still not satisfied
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
it, but that doesn't prevent a vote if this board wants to vote on the Toll Brothers, for instance. I mean, I'm against the Toll Brothers, but
No, but I mean, for the long-term planning, is there, I think it's important to know if you feel that a change in zoning is not in the cards because of it would set precedent, whatever your concerns were, that you're not satisfied. Could you be satisfied? Or if not, then that says to me something very important about the long-term view
Right.
for it.
okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean,
Fair.
I think that's,
That's fair enough.
it's a big, this is a difficult,
Right.
it's a difficult problem because you go down one road and then, Tony points out, well, it's another 100,000 here and another 100,000 there. It seems like, well, of course we want a town pool, but we have to be
I know.
mindful of the
I know.
budget. And
Mhm.
I know.
I
See
keep
what we
looking
can-
at this statement, the pool heater is aging and has shown signs of fatigue.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's so
your-
human. It's
I,
amazing.
I feel like the pool heater and I need to connect a little bit.
Yeah.
You have to talk to Anthony about it. He's must have fixed it at least 10 times.
Tony,
He has a relationship with that heater.
we're looking at this from a one-year standpoint.
Right.
And we may have to, well, we have what I see right now, is we have a $23,000 investment.
Well, the question is,
Right off the
Yeah.
hop.
do you have a
Before
20,
you- And then
a s-
perhaps we have
$70,000.
savings on the
Which is-
insurance,
Right.
Yeah.
that'll. But suffice to say, we're gonna have to spend some money to do this.
Do this.
Mhm.
Have you, and I see the budget here that's been developed, were you involved in that at all, or did you provide data? I'm just trying to understand how
the budget?
solid
I
this budget is.
I just provided actual data for what they spent this year. In other
Okay,
words,
so
I
your
gave them all
historical
that.
data.
Yeah, I gave them the historical data that they were able to use to build that budget.
Right.
You're looking at this for the budget, correct?
Yeah, so I gave them that, all the detail. that
Well,
they spent.
I'm actually looking, no, I was actually looking
I had
at,
more input impact on the,
At this last page.
I didn't have any
where
impact on,
We got
any,
revenues over expenses.
I didn't have any,
Because I'm looking at increased revenues from last year and
Oh, well,
decreased
it's part of this document,
expenses.
but you're looking at this page.
Yeah,
I had more involvement in the expenditures than I did with the revenues.
okay.
I have some concerns in general about.
I mean, I'm just looking at
Yeah,
12.5 to the good, if you will, that helps us spend some money, but I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
You wanna know how
I
real
don't
those
know.
figures
yeah,
are.
yeah,
Right.
So
But we can ask
You
the
could-
the
yeah.
guys when they.
I'd like to put a slightly different gloss on this, and that is, I also would like to see a way, to Beth's point, to figure out a way for the pool to be used. But I wonder if, whether it's next week or whenever we come back to this, this bottom line issue of the backwash pool filter,
Mm.
can you prioritize the next thing from a safety point of view? What do you think would have to be, I mean,
The,
what would be the next thing?
so if you speak with the rec department, they'll tell you that it's, from their perspective, it's critical that they have the facility
The
to
hallway.
use.
For safety,
For-
for
floor?
safety reasons.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's
Oh, I'm
gonna
sorry.
relate to that.
Oh.
That they're, that they need, it's critical that they have the facility for both the food service and the locker rooms and it says it in.
An office, I think.
Yeah, and for the office, that was the
Yeah.
other thing, right? So the other safety issue is that sprinkler system. And
Oh,
Okay.
good point.
if you don't think you can make this operation work without the facility, and you can't use the facility without the sprinkler system,
Okay. That
then you have to
ties it
spend
together.
$50,000 to fix the sprinkler system.
That's important for me to
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the sprinkler system is the dry system.
Right.
Which is in the upper floors.
Upper floors, and then the lower floors when it comes to the
Pro
out, you know,
shop.
the other side with
And
the
the
pro
pro
shop and the
shop,
back
yeah,
storage right
yeah.
over there.
But
And I'm not sure of the
you-
snack shop. That's the one I have to check.
Okay, so.
And that's where the
but-
combustibles are,
But
the
we're
snack
somehow
shops.
saying if something happens there, we're gonna be precluded from using the access way and the locker rooms and the food.
Well, then the roof is not protected. If you don't do the dry system, the whole roof has no sprinkler, no sprinklage.
Well, no, that's only if it fails, right?
No, it's
I mean,
failed. No,
it's
the top
failed?
floor is failed.
That's
No,
fine.
the thing is, if you use it, as Alex explained to me, you're not guaranteed that all of the sprinkler heads will work. Some might
Upstairs
not.
in the dry system?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the downstairs is
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Well, right, but I'm trying to piece together how that implicates us.
You mean, can
using-
you isolate it? That's the question.
Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding. I'm trying to understand
Yeah, I don't know the
if,
answer.
if we're saying that the dry system in the upper floors or other parts of the building from where we need to use it for the pool access are somehow compromised. I don't know how to what extent they're compromised, and do we know how they're compromised, and are we saying they're not functioning, which means we shouldn't be using the building? I mean, the fire
they're all
marshal
good
says we
questions.
can't use the top. He hasn't said we can't
No.
use the bottom.
No, but that's
Oh, we
what
asked
he's,
him.
we asked him.
That's-
Okay.
I'm sorry, what
What
was the
did he
answer?
say?
Has
We've
he-
asked him. He's
That's what
looking
we're,
into it.
he's
Is
looking
it-
into it. He's researching.
So he
the item.
doesn't know.
Because he
Right.
hasn't said we can or cannot.
Correct.
I'm just
Right,
trying to
that's-
understand
Correct.
the
If he
interconnection.
says, if he
between-
says
Right,
you can, then
yeah.
that's your decision.
Okay.
If he says you can't, then
Okay,
you can't.
that's
And
important.
again,
Okay.
Tony did check with the insurance company, and they will insure us
If there's a
with-
loss.
with the failed
Right,
dry system
Right.
and the operating
right,
Wet
wet
system.
system.
Right.
correct.
But if
Okay.
we shut
Got
it
it.
down, it's more money because it's fake. Okay, I got it.
$18,000
So we really
to-
don't know that there's
Mothball it.
a
Or
connection with the
There
upper.
may or may not be, right.
Hmm.
So that's sort of the next piece here.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
helpful, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So, second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,